Welcome.
Welcome back to the Press Club. We're talking about the need for protocols when we're talking about coverage of crime and court stories.
Yeah, you will notice that, like I was saying, there has been no effort by the Media Association, which is the body responsible, you know, for these issues. If it sees itself as having that responsibility, then why hasn't the Media Association found it necessary, absolutely necessary, to have a session with the GPP, with the police, you know, with regard to coverage, press coverage of court cases? Number one, I think coverage of court cases has gone, that is no longer, not even an elusive dream. It just doesn't happen anymore. Guys are more interested in what happens outside the court.
Yeah, but it doesn't even apply to court cases. I think to news generally, most reporters given to cover a conference would quicker pull a speaker outside on a side, get a soundbite and move, you know, and forget about the conference. And the same thing with the court. Rather than sit in the courthouse, listen to the entire case and report accurately on what transpired, get a soundbite after, and before, call a lawyer after.
Well, I guess you would know that each newsroom, you say that too, would tell you we don't have enough people to, you know, allow one person to spend the entire day in court.
And that's the same argument that we have, that we cannot get more investigative pieces done because we don't have the time.
No, I was saying that let's start with what we have. You know, there was a Media Association before this one, and therefore one can compare what one did and what one isn't doing. The previous Press Association, we were into having seminars. You know, we attracted the funding, seminars on issues relating to the press. The local Press Association was part of a regional media association, CAMWORK and the St. Lucia Media Workers Association. And at both levels, what we tried to do and succeeded in doing was providing the training, access to training abroad and providing training here. Like I've said before, we did this communications course at UWI at Le Mans, which resulted in St. Lucia having set the historical record of having had the most students who graduated from the CARIMAC, Caribbean Institute of Mass Communications at Mona in Jamaica.
I have to say I was a beneficiary of that training, by the way.
Pardon?
I was a beneficiary of that training, so your signature is on my certificate.
Yeah. And what has happened there is, I was saying we need to start with what we have. What we have a current crop of journalists, and that's why we know we don't have investigative journalism going on. So my approach would be to request the association to work with the media houses to have a sort of a seminar, a series of seminars. One on the protocol of court coverage. There are rules in black and white relating to press coverage, which I'm not sure every media house has made available to every reporter. So I would say the association should do that. Find out what those rules are. For example, it is illegal to take any photograph. And those things were done before cameras, before TV cameras. Those laws were written. Right. It's illegal, however, to take photographs inside of a courtroom. You cannot, no reporter has a right, has access to a prisoner or somebody in police custody. I see on TV reporters holding mics at persons in handcuffs and asking them whether they're guilty or not. I listened to a reporter refer to an exclusive interview with Dr. Shams. An interview between him coming out of the jeep and getting into the courthouse.
But the police are allowing
it. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the advice that the president gave to Miguel, that it sounded to me like, you know, do what, make sure you
you're on your own.
You're on your own, you know, so, but make sure you exercise your rights. my approach would be...
Perhaps because Miguel is not a registered and paying member of the Media Association.
Well,
you need to look into that, Miguel.
Yeah, but my advice to the president of the association would be to get in touch with the commission, the office of the commissioner, get in touch with the GPP and the chief magistrate, and I'm sure that all three will be willing to assist and participate in a seminar to get the press to understand the things that they want us to understand, and to get them to understand the things we want to understand. For example, there's a big inconsistency between what the law says and what we do. You cannot take a picture of a police station. You cannot take a picture of inside of a courtroom. You cannot. I see film coverage. I see coverage of camera people following police officers taking prisoners or persons in custody up into the courtroom. In the same way that that guy could have done those threatening things and spat at Miguel, if that place is so open that we can just walk in, then anybody else could walk in. You know, say like a victim of rape who feels that the rapist is going to get away and decide, I'm going to take my own justice and walk there with a gun and just shoot. You know, similarly, if that guy had decided that he wanted to try and get the gun on the side of any of the police officers that were escorting him, you know, what would have happened?
But then again, why wasn't he handcuffed? Why wasn't he in shackles?
That's another question. Because in one side he was unshackled so that he could have done that. All these are questions that can be answered, can be asked, but nobody is asking. So I'm saying one session on the protocol of not just covering court cases, but the interaction between the press and prisoners, but or persons in police
the absence
custody.
of a move by the association to do it, can it not be taken on by the individual media houses to get those sessions for their staff?
Oh yeah,
but when I started with The Voice, luckily we had Michael Gordon, so we got, you know, the sessions on you know, the law, thoughts, and you know, that sort of, and I still have books home that we got
I think that would be like what you're saying, you were saying earlier, asking each media house to be on your own, to deal with it on their own. It's in their interest,
exactly,
you know, and if one was to start,
rather than wait on the association,
it might roll on. But you and I know that media houses tend to see training more as expense than investment, and that's another problem that we need to understand and be able to address, to convince media houses that there is an investment in improving their reporting standards. Secondly, I think there needs to be a session, and that's why I was saying the Media Association needs to do that, to bring everybody, not the media house, but the media workers, the journalists and the reporters, to bring them together to look at and to understand, because they're the ones who are going to be affected, the whole question of the protocols surrounding sub judice and contempt of court. What is the difference between sub judice and contempt of court? What are we doing? What did we do? Because invariably when the DPP issues a warning, it's shrouded and veiled in legal, you know, in legalese. Yeah, so we need a session to ask her, what did we do wrong? You know, and what chance did we take? What could have been the consequences? Because you sound like you're upset and you wouldn't have made a statement if we didn't do something wrong, but we're not aware we've done anything wrong, because, I mean, the president of the association, you know, takes issue with the DPP and her statements. Every time she makes a statement, she's accused of wanting to tell us what to do, how to do our job. But we need, this is more than just a debate between me and you or between Clinton and I. It is really talking about ensuring that we do what we can to improve our product. We each try to improve ourselves, you know, by doing the research, some of us more than others, but we each got to be able to speak to each other about what we can do to find solutions. We still complain. We still complain about lack of this, lack of that. There are realities. The media houses are less willing now to spend on training than ever before. They were never willing, but they are even less willing now. I think it is the community, the same way that the same business community we say that is not doing well, is that same business community that is supporting the advertising for our 20-something radio stations and how many TV stations and newspapers. And the funds can be accessed for a seminar. I'm sure Sandals would be prepared to give a room for a day. I'm sure the DPP would be prepared to give a morning. I'm sure the police commissioner would be prepared to take the time off. And if, you know, you could get everything we need to have a one-day seminar can be got. You know, it can be got. And I think that we just need to make a start. We just need to make a start. And sometimes I try to not sound like I'm only criticizing, and not offering solutions. I always try to offer, because it's to just criticize without making recommendations doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to be able to really reason with each other, level with each other, and begin to take the steps that will show that we are interested in improving ourselves. And therefore, we need some more soul searching, some more admission, you know, that we are not always right, you know, and that the Fourth Estate is not some exclusive property that everybody needs to be, not have access to, you know, or cannot have access to. We're not a unique species, you know, inhabiting the earth. We weren't born with special rights and privileges.
Yeah, even less so than any time before. But we're due for a break. Let's take the break. When we come back, we can look at some of the other issues in the news. We'll be right back.
How many more breaks?